Philippine companies remain cautiously optimistic about their business outlook over the next 12 months, identifying the Philippines as a strategic destination for growth despite ongoing global and domestic challenges. That is according to the Chamber Spring 2025 World Business Outlook Survey. With us now for more is Antoniette Mariano, Chamber President of the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She is also BDO Unibank First Vice President and Head of the Europe Desk. Well, good to have you, Marie. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kathy, and thank you for the opportunity. Glad to be here and be able to meet you as well.
And also congratulations as you've marked your first year in office as Chamber President. You're the first woman to handle this important and pivotal position. How's it been so far?
Well, it's a privilege and of course an opportunity for every Filipino, especially for a Filipina, to be in a bigger scale and contribute more than just the daily job that we're doing, but of course more onto the economy and creating a lot of connection, of course, with foreign direct investments.
Right, and the survey puts us right front and center into the expectations of the German firms coming here to the Philippines. The Business Outlook Survey, it came out in April, but the results, very relevant, and the kind of output that we've seen among German firms. Just connecting that with what I just read earlier about the Bangko Central's consumer and business expectations, how does cautious optimism play into that assessment by the Bangko Central, and how are you seeing it from your end as Chamber President?
Based on the AHK World Business Survey, we've seen a growing optimism on the front of the German businesses operating in the Philippines. I'd also like to highlight business expectation, which is really very high. And comparatively over the ASEAN neighbors, we have a very high score, which is also very good for the Philippines. This also creates more traction. I was in Berlin attending the AHK World Conference, and the overarching theme is off to new market. The German companies abroad are being pushed to look for strategic partnership outside of traditional market like US and China. So they're really pushing them to go in the ASEAN region, of course, MENA and South Africa. In fact, we have a business delegation last week on renewable energy, and I'm very happy to note when I was speaking to one of the delegates, that company delegate was part of the business roundtable discussion when President Marcos was in Berlin. So you could also see that the eyes is now in the Philippine front. So,
well, let's put that into context with the word cloud that your survey had come up with. Very interesting that you conducted this survey between March 17th and April 11th. And this is a word cloud that's come up. A lot of words there. But really the overriding risks include global recession, U.S. tariffs, tariff impact, tax audits. But that was before the midterm elections of the Philippines, the cabinet revamp, and the congressional issues that Trump faced because of his tariffs and the volatility in oil because of the escalation in the Middle East. If you were to go back and speak with the German firms, and you may have in these weeks that have passed, what would be their overriding word cloud, you think, as the main risk or risks?
One would be because the Philippine elections is done and that we had installed a new government. Number one would still be bureaucracy, the ease of doing business. That has been always on the table of the German companies whenever they do business here. We've worked with the Anti-Red Tape Authority on providing platform which we call German-Philippine Business Action Portal, where they lodge concerns. And happy to say that 100% resolution is there. Another one would also be the geopolitical tension that's happening. Of course, this also impacts their businesses, especially those who's into exports and imports. With prices of energy would be affected, of course. Rise of raw materials also would be one. But overall, it's really the ease of doing business in the country.
And that's quite surprising because with or without these tensions in the Middle East and all that, things remain the same. It's really the ease of doing business. Yes. But there is a European free trade agreement that we're hoping to sign sign off on.
Yes,
And the
yes.
fourth meeting is in October and it's
October.
happening in Manila. What is the chamber doing to ensure that this goes through? Because very important to the whole equation is to diversify.
Yes, right, Kathy. In fact, if we do look at the survey, there are highlighted risks. One would be economic policy uncertainty, fluctuating demand, and rising raw material costs. We've seen that the EU-Philippine Free Trade Agreement would be a mechanism to make it more stable, to open more avenues for German companies and other European companies to look into the Philippines and diversify. This will also help with the EU integration and a stable trade environment. So we had discussion on this, and we heard that this is going good and fast, so which is very happy for us, especially in the Philippine front.
Could it be the final then, the fourth and final negotiation?
We're hoping
in October.
We're hoping that for that, Kathy. And the sooner that we put this on the table, the sooner all these foreign direct investments and will rise in the country.
All right, we'll have you back in October before then for some certainty here in the free trade agreement. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Kathy.
it very
Thank
much.
you.
Maan. And that was Maria Antoniette Mariano of the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry.